Welcome to Tales by WZ. Today's story is about a husband who overhears his pregnant wife and mother-in-law planning to kick him out of his own house and live off child support. As you listen, ask yourself where you would draw the line. My wife said, "Once the baby's born, we kick him out." I replied, 30 days. Then I called a lawyer, recorded their plan, and served an eviction notice at breakfast. But when she tried to twist the story, that transcript turned the crowd silent. I'm 32. I own my house. I bought it 3 years ago before I even met my wife. The title is in my name, the mortgage is in my name, everything. That detail matters more than I ever thought it would. My wife is 29. We got married 8 months ago. It was fast. A whirlwind kind of romance. 2 months after the wedding, she told me she was pregnant. I was genuinely happy. I thought we were building a family. Last Tuesday, her mom came to visit for the week. All day, the two of them were weird, whispering, stopping mid-sentence when I walked into a room. I told myself it was normal mom and daughter stuff, baby planning, family gossip, whatever. Around 11 p.m., I went to bed early because work has been brutal. My wife said she would stay up a bit longer and watch a show with her mom. I was half asleep when I heard them coming up the stairs. Our bedroom door was slightly open and the hallway light was on. Then I heard my wife's voice, quiet but clear. She told her mom, "Once the baby is born, we kick him out and keep the child support." I went cold. They kept talking. My wife was excited, like she was explaining a plan that was already settled. She talked about letting me bond for a few weeks, then filing for divorce and taking the baby. Her mom asked about the house, and my wife said Texas is a community property state, and she looked it up. Then they laughed about my engineering money. This is the kind of moment that changes how you see a person, and when someone shows you a plan, you should believe them. They went back to the guest room. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. I wasn't even crying. I was just doing math in my head. If she could say that while I was 10 feet away, then she could do worse when I wasn't watching. So I got up, went to my office, and started researching. Texas property law, divorce, eviction, anything I could find. We didn't have a prenup, which felt like the dumbest mistake of my life. I found an emergency number for a divorce attorney and called. A guy named Henderson answered. He told me I needed documentation and proof. He also told me Texas is one-party consent for recording. That meant if I was part of the recording, it was legal. That detail mattered more than her smile ever did. The next morning, my wife was in the kitchen making breakfast like nothing happened. Humming, touching her belly, playing the sweet pregnant wife. I had my phone recording in my pocket. I asked a normal question about the nursery. Blue or neutral? She smiled and said neutral. Then I asked casually what she and her mom were talking about last night, something about property laws. She tried to brush it off, said it was boring, said her mom was thinking of moving to Texas. That was a lie. Her mom lives in Oklahoma and hates Texas, so I said it straight. I told her it sounded like they were discussing my house and child support. Her face changed. The color drained. She asked if I was awake. I said yes. I heard everything. The plan to kick me out, take my kid, and collect a check. She started crying immediately, fast, practiced tears. When someone cries right after getting caught, you have to watch the actions, not the waterworks. She said I misunderstood, said it was hypothetical, said her mom was just worried. Then her mom came in and started yelling at me for stressing a pregnant woman. Like I was the problem for hearing it. I walked to my office, grabbed the folder Henderson helped me prepare, and came back. I handed my wife an envelope. Eviction notice. 30 days to vacate my property. She ripped it open with shaking hands and said I couldn't do that. She said she was pregnant with my child. I told her pregnancy does not give her squatter's rights. The house is mine and she was being evicted. Her mom called me a monster. My wife asked where she was supposed to go. I said Oklahoma. Her mom's house. The same place she planned to run to with my baby and my money. My wife begged. She said she made a mistake, she was scared, she wasn't thinking straight. I told her she researched laws and made a timeline. That is thinking, just in the worst possible direction. I told her there would be a DNA test when the baby was born. If the child is mine, custody and support would be handled through court the right way, with lawyers, not through a scheme whispered in a hallway. That day, I got a flood of messages. She loved me. It was a misunderstanding. I was overreacting. Her mom said I was abusive. This is where pressure starts to replace truth. People try to wear you down until your standards feel like a burden. I called Henderson again. He told me to file for separation immediately, document everything, and follow the eviction process exactly. For the next weeks, she stayed in my house while we barely spoke. She tried being sweet, cooking meals, acting like this was fixable. Her mom left, but not before calling me every name she could think of. 2 weeks later, things got more chaotic. My wife tried everything. One day I found her in the nursery crying over the crib we had started setting up. She asked how I could tear apart our baby's home. I told her she was the one who planned to tear me out of it. I was just moving faster than her schedule. Her dad called next. I barely knew him. He tried the man-to-man talk and said I shouldn't abandon my child. I told him I wasn't abandoning anyone. I was refusing to be robbed. I asked him if she told him about the conversation I overheard. The one where she and her mom planned to use my baby to lock me out and live off child support. Long pause. He said no. She left that part out. That was the pattern. Everyone got a version of the story where I was cruel and she was scared. The plan was always missing. She used her pregnancy like a shield, back pain, morning sickness, fatigue. She said she needed support, not stress. I told her she should have thought about that before planning to weaponize our child. Then her best friend showed up on my porch screaming about how real men take responsibility. I stayed calm and told her real adults don't scheme to commit fraud. Around day 15, I came home and my wife had invited a woman named Dorothy over, a family counselor. My wife stood there like this was a surprise gift. Dorothy smiled that careful therapist smile and said my wife told her we had communication issues and fears about the future. So I asked Dorothy if my wife mentioned the part where she planned to divorce me after the baby was born, kick me out of my own home, and collect child support while keeping me away from my child. Dorothy's smile froze. My wife said I was twisting it, so I told them I had a recording. Dorothy looked uncomfortable. My wife went pale. Dorothy said I recorded a private conversation. I told her Texas is one-party consent and I was the one party. Dorothy left quickly. I told my wife we weren't doing therapy. We were doing eviction and divorce. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to play the role someone wrote for you. The next day, I got a letter from a lawyer, not Henderson. My wife hired one. The letter claimed I was creating a hostile environment for a pregnant woman, that I was withholding financial support, that the eviction was retaliatory and illegal, that she deserved to stay in the marital home until the baby was born for health reasons. I was still paying every bill, everyone. Henderson laughed when he read it. He said she was desperate and her lawyer was trying to scare me. He drafted a response and included a transcript of the recording. Not the audio, just the words. After that, her lawyer went quiet. My wife did not. She started posting online, vague messages about the hardest time of her life. Sad pregnancy photos. Friends telling her she deserved better. My cousin sent me screenshots and asked what was happening. I sent her the transcript. Then more family members learned the truth. Her mom called again and said I humiliated my wife over a private conversation. I said it was a private conversation about ruining my life. I asked her why they researched the law and made a timeline if it was just fear. She had no answer. She hung up. By day 22, my wife started packing, but barely. One box every couple of days, like she was hoping the deadline would pass and I would give up. Henderson told me not to engage. Just document everything, so I took photos. Her clothes were still in the closet, her toiletries still on the counter. It looked like she was trying to prove she still lived there. Then her lawyer sent another letter asking for a 90-day extension. They claimed moving during pregnancy was dangerous. Henderson said that is not how eviction law works. Health issues do not erase property rights. We denied it. On day 25, my wife switched tactics. She made my favorite pot roast, set the table nicely, candles, the whole thing. She apologized. She said she was terrified about being a mom, terrified about money, and her mom was in her ear. She said she never wanted to hurt me. She said she would sign a postnup, a prenup, anything. She begged me not to throw away our marriage. For a moment she looked real, vulnerable, human. Then I remembered her laughing about my paycheck and saying once we kick him out, so I told her no. I told her I didn't believe her. I told her she was sorry because she got caught. She got angry and said our marriage meant nothing because of one mistake. I told her it wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. Day 26 was worse. I came home and my living room was full of people, her mom, her sister, her best friend, an aunt I had never met. All sitting in a circle like an intervention. They told me I was making a huge mistake. They said she only said words, she didn't do actions. They said it was hormones. They said the baby needed both parents. This is how manipulation works. They try to make betrayal sound like a misunderstanding and your boundaries sound like cruelty. I asked my wife if she told them about the recording. She looked down and said no. So I opened the transcript on my phone and read it out loud. The plan, the timeline, the jokes about money, the part about courts favoring the mother, the whole thing. The room went silent. Some of them looked shocked. Some looked angry at me for saying it out loud. Her mom tried to pull the pregnancy card again. I told them I had paid every bill for 8 months. I told them I would handle custody and support legally if the child is mine. But I was not letting her stay in my house after she planned to claim it fraudulently and cut me out of my child's life. They still didn't leave, so I told them they had 60 seconds before I called the police for trespassing. They left. My wife begged one more time. I told her to pack. 2 days left. Day 29, she moved out. Her mom showed up with a truck and 2 guys I didn't recognize. They loaded everything in a few hours. My wife didn't talk to me. She just cried quietly and directed the movers. Before she walked out, she turned back and told me she hoped I was happy. She said I got what I wanted. I told her I wanted a family. She wanted a paycheck. We both lost. The next day, I filed for divorce. Henderson handled it. I also filed for a paternity test at birth. Non-negotiable. If the baby is mine, I will be there. Custody and support legally. Not because someone trapped me and not because someone planned it like a business deal. Because I choose to be a father. My wife is already spinning the story online. Abandoned while pregnant. Thrown out by a man who promised forever. People are brutal in the comments on both sides. Her mom called one last time and said my wife is depressed and not eating and the stress is affecting the baby. I told her my wife ruined her own life when she chose a scheme over honesty. Do I regret it? No. Could I have tried counseling? Maybe. But here's the thing. It wasn't just what she said, it was the planning, the research, the timeline, the laughing. She went to bed next to me like nothing happened after mapping out how to destroy me. That is not a bad moment. That is a strategy. So yes, I might end up a divorced dad paying child support. This is not the life I wanted. But I still have my home, my assets, and my self-respect. And if the child is mine, I will step up on my own terms through the law with my eyes open. Lessons. Lesson 1. When someone shows you a plan to hurt you, do not wait for them to carry it out. Lesson 2. Tears are not accountability. Accountability is telling the truth before you get caught. Lesson 3. Pregnancy is real and serious, but it does not excuse manipulation or fraud. Lesson 4. Protect yourself with documentation, timelines, and legal help when trust breaks. Lesson 5. Co-parenting can work, but only when rules are clear and enforced. What would you have done if you overheard that conversation? Would you have tried counseling, or would you have ended it immediately? Source material.